Is the economy bubble about to pop? Truly, I feel like as astrologers, we've been watching Pluto move from Capricorn to Aquarius, which really mimics the 2008 financial crisis, right? Thinking that the blow was going to come November of 2024. I'm now thinking the blow's coming this weekend. And so we're going to get into it in this video with Uranus moving back into Taurus. But hi, my name's Lauren. I'm a professional astrologer. I'm also a clinical licensed social worker. So I come from the lens of using astrology to deconstruct the systems that are harming us, to use astrology to give us hope and realize that there's a script playing out in this simulation, in this universe, whatever you want to call it. And if all things go as planned, the change is upon us. We just got to get through some muck and guck to get there. And I've just been pulled to get on here and call. If you see my last videos, I've been talking about a lot around decolonizing, things like that. And I'll get back to that. But let's talk about the here and now right now. Okay. So some background. The outer planets create the collective energy, okay? So what's going on down here in the world is typically mirrored from Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. I'm going to do a whole masterclass on this coming soon, so keep following for more info on that because people discredit these planets because they weren't in the traditional aspect of astrology. And why were they not part of traditional astrology? Because they weren't in our awareness yet, right? Like literally, we did not have the science to understand there were other planets in our solar system. Because to the naked eye, you could only see Sun through Saturn, the 7 planets. And I always think about back then too, around how pollution wasn't a thing and there was no lights. And so how crystal clear Saturn must have been, but I digress. As technology advanced, consciousness expanded, we then learned about these planets. Fun fact, when Pluto was discovered, it was around the exact same time that psychodynamic theory, Freud, was at its peak. And I find that interesting because Pluto rules Scorpio in the modern astrology, and that is really around our shadow part, psychodynamic things. Not so interesting. Anyways, again, I digress. So as an astrologer, it's been fucking epic to watch all 3 outer planets change signs within a year of each other. Literally, when people say this is a one in a lifetime time down here on Earth, we're not exaggerating because they all move at such different speeds. So Pluto moves at roughly 200, I think 48, 50 years to get all the way around all 12 signs, okay? Uranus takes, give or take 84-ish years to get around the whole zodiac wheel. I might butcher it by a few years. Neptune takes about 164 years, right? So all these planets are moving at different speeds, different times, and for all of them to change signs within 1 year is massive. Beyond that, no matter when an outer planet changes signs, we feel it drastically, right? Because it does make up the collective unconscious. So what I mean by that is we all have individual consciousness, right? My little consciousness, your little consciousness creates the greater whole. That creates the collective unconscious. This is psychology. Carl Jung, Freud, they all studied this. Not that I like Freud, I'm just saying. Carl Jung, that's my homie. Anyways, they've studied the collective consciousness. We know that it's projected, the greater humanity is a reflection of us individually. Spirituality has also said this. Eastern cultures have always said this. That's why it's like you're not just a drop in the ocean, you are the whole ocean. Believe that's Buddhism. Again, correct me if I'm wrong, but from my memory, that's it. And so whether it's from a spiritual perspective or a Western psychological express, it all says the same thing, that there's a collective unconscious. The astrology would say Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto rule that, okay? Uranus is the collective thought. Some people call it the superego. It is the collective thought where literally you can meditate, zone in to this frequency, to this wave, to this information that you never learned. For example, people might be like, oh my God, I just had this amazing idea, and they bring it in to humanity. It's like any innovator, Albert Einstein, right? He had to have tapped into something higher than himself to pull down this information. An example I tend to give is like when you're walking and you're walking with your partner or your best friend and you say something out loud and you're like, I was just thinking that. It's because you were literally attuned to that same wavelength, to that same thought pattern. And so you bring it into your individual consciousness. So I also attuned to the saying where Michael Jackson, when he had an idea, he had to write it down and he started working on it immediately because he said ideas have consciousness. Ideas are just floating around the realm and they're looking for literal human brains to host the ideas. And if you have an idea and you don't do it first, someone else might do it. And that's why when you open your TikTok and you have an idea and then you see a creator say that exact same thing, again, the collective thought. Okay, so I'm really nailing in Uranus. This is what Uranus is all about. So then also Uranus represents chaos, disruption. It literally sends like shock waves so that you can like have these aha moments. Again, aha moments to new information. Think about like that emoji where the head is like, that's what it reminds me of. So wherever it is in the zodiac wheel, whatever sign it's transiting in, whatever that archetype rules over, it is shaking up. It's saying, hey, I got to destabilize you. I got to create some chaos. I got to create some disruptions in here so that you can expand your consciousness. You can have these great awakenings, okay? That's why the modern ruler of Uranus is Aquarius. Aquarius is very progressive, 5 steps ahead of humanity, okay? So the energy of Uranus was in Taurus since 2019. Taurus rules over Earth, the economy, resources, okay, food. Right now, what's happening in the collective is SNAP benefits are literally being restricted, right? Resources are literally being restricted from people because of people in power. I believe they're doing this intentionally so that people will revolt because they know when you take someone's food away, people revolt. Why would they want us to revolt? Because then they can control. Military. I don't believe that the military would actually use harm against us. I'm sure some people within the military, but I really believe in humanity and I really believe past pattern predicts futures behaviors. And if you watched his stupid ass parade that he had, and I'm pretty sure that was on the full moon in Aquarius. Such an ego thing during Leo season, right? They literally marched out of step out of protest, right? So like, just remember that they've already signaled to him that you're not my king. And people in the military are literally trained, especially high up, for dictatorship to ensure that things like this don't happen. So I just want to say that as I go on for the rest of the video, I do believe that he's trying to revolt. Think about the Great Gatsby party that he had on Halloween, like very Hunger Game-esque District 1, why they're literally starving people. Again, I think they're playing in our face intentionally to piss us off. And that's where we got to stay grounded. We got to look out for each other. I digress. So Uranus has been in Taurus since 2019. July 7th of 2025, it moved into Gemini. Okay. That was the same week 3i Atlas was discovered. There was a new science things that came out around like the ocean and currents and just things that we thought was one way, but it's really the other. So we know that disruption in information down here, what we've learned, which is what Gemini rules over, is coming. So when a planet moves signs, it pre-shadows the whole transit. So up until literally November 7th, so from July 7th to November 7th, Uranus went into Gemini. And it's disrupting everything we think we know. It also has been giving a lot of information, the Epstein files, all of that shit, disrupting information, been coming out, right? For us to raise our consciousness levels. Okay, so now it's going back into Taurus to do its final bow. So I always say, when planets leave signs and then come back, they're trying to do their final bow and make sure we like learned the lesson or make sure humanity really understood what it needed to do. So if we're on the right trajectory, we almost like reap the benefits. And if we're not, like extreme shit happens. Pluto. We'll get to that in a sec. Anyways, so it's going back to Taurus November 7th. Literally, October 31st in the night, the Federal Reserve loaned the banks like 50 something billion dollars. Now, this has happened before, yes, when there's financial issues. Why is there a financial issue? Because the government shutdown is happening, which is honestly the longest one on record since Trump. So if it goes on to tomorrow, it will be the longest one on record. Is happening. And so money is not going through the banks to pay off loans and mortgages and everything because no one has any money and people are withdrawing money from the banks to pay things. Okay. So it's not getting replenished. So first sign of warning, warning, warning. That doesn't technically mean doom or gloom to run to the banks. No, but it is a warning sign. Then yesterday, I'm going to butcher this. So I'm going to look at my phone because I screenshotted what it means. Okay, several major Fortune 500 companies, including Amazon, Hormel Foods, announced significant job cuts around November 3rd. Okay, so like 30,000 people were released from Amazon and other shit, but American Airlines, things like that. But why this matters is because basically, from my understanding, a lot of companies lost a shit ton of money yesterday. But for somehow, things still kind of increased by like 0.2%. So basically leading to who runs the world? Only a few people, right? Right? Okay. So we know that's red flags. People are being laid off. Companies are losing money. Then comes today, Bitcoin. Bitcoin is down. Okay. Also screenshotted that. And basically just price dropping. Reason for crash, the declines linked to midst of issues, including deepening DeFi crisis, border macroeconomic fears, which have caused investors to move away from riskier assets. Yada, yada, yada. Bitcoin is connected to Uranus and Gemini because it's electronic, right? So it's just like this really interesting, weird time to be alive where all the dots are computing. Now, it's going back into Taurus, which will over money. What is happening tomorrow, November 5th? Full moon in Taurus. Culmination moments. Big things, letting things go, disruptions. Taurus rules over the economy. And then 48 hours, Uranus gets into Taurus. That means the moon is going to pass over Uranus as Uranus is coming backwards. Talk about disruption, okay? So that is going on. That's what I want to talk about today. That is really fucking fascinating. Now, why we thought, or I thought predictively, I told my parents to kind of be mindful of money, was Pluto being in Capricorn mirrored when Pluto moved into Capricorn in 2008, the financial crisis, right? The real estate crisis, that bubble bursting. So I predicted when it was moving out of it, likely the same thing would have happened. And there was dips and there were weird things. But the biggest thing was a dictator was voted into office, which was the fall of it all, right? Because to me, the theory is if he can get everything to crash, then we are all reliant on this false appage of resources by the government. And then they can have a financial currency and the universal passport kind of thing, one world order, yada, yada, yada. But there's more of us than them, right? And there's so many people waking up right now that we are literally coming together that I'm like, I just don't think there's too many people awoken to be sheeps to a greater system. And there's too many good people, like souls, just inherently souls are good people. We're good people. We've just been programmed. And I really, really believe that certain souls came down here to trigger us and wake us up. If you look at DJT, our president's birth chart, he was born directly on a full moon, a lunar eclipse, directly. Sun in Gemini, moon in Sag. You can't make that shit up, right? He was born on eclipse. His 11th house sun, Gemini in shadow can talk anyone into anything. They're masters with their words. It's on his north node. That's what he came down here to master. His words, manipulation in the 11th house of networks, big, massive groups of people. That's what he does best. I don't like him, but he's charmed a shit ton of people. He's done it his whole life. His soul journey was that. But Uranus moved into Gemini July 7th, and his whole world has disrupted. His natal Uranus is in Gemini. He's going through a Uranus return, which is very rare if you make it to 84 or whatever. And things are disrupting for him. Some people are saying he's going to jail. Good riddance. We'll see, right? But yeah, his moon in Sag being that dogma of I'm right and that narcissist energy. Oh, also Leo rising. The sun rules him. His ego is literally ruled. Mars and Pluto are in his first house. The malefics are literally on his rising sign. That means he acts like a Mars. He acts like a Pluto, a dictator. Power. That's why, like, when you look at his birth chart, everything he's doing makes complete sense. And it also mirrors the collective, though, right? Like, he's triggering the out of all of us. But the thing is, every time they do something, it's waking more and more and more and more and more people up, which is why I literally feel like we live in a simulation because the astrology is too fucking accurate, you guys. Even if billionaires are using astrology and using it to like manipulate the energy and drop these bombs, still like fated events are happening that you cannot control through the masses. And it's mirroring the outer planets, right? And it's just like, holy crap, we literally live in a video game. And if we're at the last level, I keep thinking this, like, you're playing a video game and you have to slay the dragon. You're not just going to walk up to the dragon and stab him because the dragon is a fire breather. You have to be strategic. So we're at this like strategic standpoint of stripping them of their wealth, stripping them of the money, which is power and control, reprogramming our nervous system, reprogramming our minds, being there for one another. Q and Pluto and Aquarius, right? We're literally having to actually build an entire new system parallel to the current system to be able to change. Because if we take away their ammo, if we are less reliant on them, their power, then we've created a new system and they have nothing. They have no food to fuel their fire. So we have to come over here. We have to be strategic. They can't see us coming. I saw that Mariah Carey, you know, doesn't it just irk you with all these videos of all these rich people doing video or commercials? And you're just like, ew, I don't want to be programmed also by these rich fucks who are so out of tune with society. Anyways, I digress. She just did a Christmas commercial, right? With her like thing. I don't her song. I don't know. I don't really listen to Christmas shit. But anyways, with Sephora, who is linked to, I believe, Israel. Shocker. And the whole skit is an elf stealing and saying that he needs to sell his products because he doesn't have money and he's boycotting Christmas because he needs to pay for therapy. Talk about laughing in our fucking faces. I'm like, get so hyped on these videos. I get so passionate about what's going on because truly when you see everything, they're playing in our faces. And this is the video game. We're at the end of it. And the script is here. And this is what I really want to give hope. Like astrology has given me hope every step of the way because while they want you to see chaos, they want you to see doom and gloom. Have you seen how amazing people are with all the food banks and like feeding each other? It's so cool. Side note, I'm doing a yoga flow tonight for the full moon in Taurus. And even if you can't make it, all donations are going to a local proceeds. And I'll keep that up if you want to donate to that, just to donate to local communities. But anyways, like so many people are showing up and like we don't have access. A lot of people don't have access, but they're going to show up for other people. They're going to cut out the comfort. We're ready to feel uncomfortable to get comfortable again. Shadow of Taurus. Holy shit. Uranus moving into Taurus. We have to disrupt our comfort. I was telling my husband, he's like, it's not a good thing for the economy to crash. I go, I get that. I don't find joy in the astrology being correct because it is discomforting, but there's no way we're going to change the system if we stay complacent and comfortable. That's the shadow of Taurus, which mimics my personal birth chart. I have a South Node in Taurus. And so my whole life, my default mode is to stay comfortable. And I have to literally get out of that, which I'm currently going through right now because like, just to be like completely honest, I quit my therapy job, my stable income. My husband works for me, my astrology program, right? Like if this course doesn't sell that I'm launching, like it's a really uncomfortable spot. We got a baby, right? Like I'm baking all my eggs in this bucket of my course that launches tomorrow on the full moon in Taurus. This is so crazy. This is so wild. Like the walls are closing in, right? I lost 10 grand a month ago. This is just, okay, that's a whole nother video. Again, I need to stay on task. So basically the world needs to get uncomfortable to get comfortable, which loops to white privilege. This is why white people are waking up because we're finally uncomfortable and we're having to look through the illusion where minorities have felt uncomfortable their whole fucking life. Like, again, another video I'm going to do, but my husband was like, as terrible as ICE is, it's terrible. He goes, this is what I have felt every day of my life when I pass a cop. because he's Black. His nervous system has always been fight or flight in America as a Black man. And so we're, as white people, we're getting triggered. But again, the triggering leads to the healing. But most of all, it leads to community, and that's Pluto in Aquarius. So let's get to that planet, because I could talk about Taurus forever. Which, okay, last thing I'll say about Taurus is literally this full moon. I'm just noticing it in all my clients, in my students, in my partner, in myself, is a lot of us are releasing scarcity, and not in like love and light, abundance for all, but like literally needing to ground in our nervous system and understand scarcity was programmed into us. And if we can understand that, and we can see through the bullshit and the illusion, and working harder does not mean more money, it means actually more dysregulation, actually being slaves to the system. We can break the system, break the paradigm. Holy shit, Uranus, literally disrupt the system for change. That's it. All right, bye. I'm just kidding. Okay, so Pluto in Aquarius. History, I'm just going to go back to Pluto in Capricorn. I said that 2008, right? It was in Capricorn. Capricorn rules over the authority system. So the top-down systems, the banking system, the real estate system, any systems at play, because Capricorn has built, okay? And within systems, there's always a hierarchy, the government, there's a president, and everything goes down, right? So basically, Pluto, the whole purpose of a Pluto transit is to reveal the shadows of that sign. So there's going to be two sides of it. It's going to become extreme. Pluto wants things to become extreme. So it makes small things big and big things small. So it really escalated the Pluto in Capricorn, right? The influencer era, the Kardashians, big wealth, hoarding big wealth, which is also Uranus and Taurus. So that kind of mimicked, right? But anyways, really shed light on that, but it also shed light on all the corruption, the elections, like everything, right? We're seeing it. So now that Pluto's moved on to Aquarius officially in November of 2024, you heard that right, after the election, everything we learned in Capricorn is just on center stage. So now we're like fighting these systems of like, we need to burn it down. And Pluto's now in Aquarius. So every sign in the zodiac builds. So if Capricorn's for the individual success, Aquarius is for the collective success, realizing that we can't have individuals without the collective. So the highest side, right, is wanting to build for one another. And you see that. You see community beyond, like, humanity is showing up. It's showing the fuck up, which I really love. But the shadow is control of technology. So the shadow is surveillance, right? So you see this, and I think I said this in my last video, but you're seeing like Aura Ring, you're seeing Ring camera, you're seeing ICE, like all of that. They're partnering with surveillance companies. Why are they doing that? So if they can predict, and this is what they said, if they can predict our next move, they can keep order in society. All social media platforms, all cell phone platforms. I'm definitely on a list to watch. No, I'm just kidding. Well, actually, I don't fucking knows. But anyways, like, so they are closing in, because if we take ICE, right, which again, humanity literally barricading them in these small towns so they can't leave with family members. I just want to share this story because it gives me hope, and it also is terrible, but also shows the love that humanity has. There's a small mountain town in Colorado right now. They picked up a dad and two kids who have done everything legally. They're waiting for papers in the court system. And the entire town has barricaded them so they can't leave, barricaded them so they can't leave. That is community. Right. And we're seeing that everywhere. We're seeing that in Spokane, Washington. Like, we're seeing it in so many places, and we're seeing people torment them. And so their recruiting's down because they're being tormented and stalked. Thank God. Thank God. Tailgated, everything. And so delete Spotify. They're running ads. They're trying to recruit so hard right now, and they're like giving incentives and yada, yada, yada. And so now they're trying to do this surveillance thing. And, to be able to like track, I think the video said 8 billion social media videos like per day or something, like wild. So again, they can predict things coming, but it's because they don't have the bodies, because people aren't engaging anymore. So again, we're winning, but they're closing in, and technology is the way of control. So Pluto is going to make things extreme, power dynamics. So let's go back to what Pluto the fuck means. I just like instantly went into Pluto and Capricorn. Pluto in astrology is power. Okay, so power dynamics, control, abuse of power, that's shadow. Transformation of power is the higher side, like alchemy, realizing that the pain that we all go through actually can help us progress. So in society, Pluto is the collective action. So where are we collectively taking action? Wow, I've jumped around a lot. So Pluto is collective action. Oh my God. So basically, collectively, where are we healing and alchemizing the shadow of that sign? So in Capricorn, we're healing and alchemizing the authority figures that we don't want to listen to anymore. In Aquarius, we're alchemizing the shadow of control through technology, AI, all that stuff, right? All the things that we're scared of happening, that's Pluto in Aquarius. And it could, there is always a probability of it going that way, but I genuinely don't feel that because again, too many people are awoken for that. But anyways, so the high side of Pluto in Aquarius is truly destroying the system, the powers of the system to rebuild for the greater good collectively. But the shadow would be abuse of power using technology, right? Because Aquarius is technology. So it could go either way. We're going to see both. Every transit's going to express in both ways. It's just whether the dark or the light's going to outweigh, but the light always engulfs. And that's basically the laws of the universe, right? And so that's why I feel like it's a script and we're at the end of the video game and it is going to be okay, which Aquarius rules over hope and I'm an Aquarius and we're talking about Aquarius. Homage to Aquarius. But because of that, like collectively, we're going to take action to come together. That's what the astrology says. They can pedal their little feet and try to control all of us, but I just don't think it's going to work. Okay. That's Pluto in Aquarius. So Pluto moved in Aquarius in 2024 and is staying, well, it went back and forth. It started in March of 2023. Then it went again in like May of 2024. I could butcher that, but that's what I believe off the top of my head. And then it went again in November and now it's there. We got like 18 more years of this, okay? Buckle on up. But it takes that long to build a system. Like it makes sense. Okay, so then we have Neptune. So Neptune is the collective emotion because it's the planet of unity, okay? It's the planet that reminds us that collectively we are all the same source energy and that's how we feel. So we literally feel for one another. We want to connect. We want to merge. That is the purpose of Neptune, which is the collective emotion. So Neptune moved into Pisces in 2014, I believe. Maybe, 2012. I think it started 2012, went back and forth, blah, blah, blah. And so it moved into Aries a few months ago, and now it's already back into Pisces for its final time in our lifetimes. Because remember, it takes 160 years. Pluto, again, will never be in Capricorn again. This is the final time in Aquarius. Like these are one in a lifetime transits, like I said. And if you make it to 80 something more years, you'll experience Uranus in Taurus. But if you're my age, I won't ever experience that again. So that's also one in a lifetime. So that's where we're at. So anyways, Neptune was in Pisces for the last decade. This is why so many people woke up spiritually, right? So the empowered side of Pisces is spirituality, it's connectedness, it's understanding our power, it's understanding unity, it's understanding compassion, because the highest vibration of Pisces is unconditional love and like compassion for one another, seeing each other within one another and giving each other love, right? Beyond the ego. Shadow of Pisces is escapism, is addiction, and is delusion. So there's a cult following that started in American politics. There is an opioid crisis, addiction crisis that is off the scales. Hundreds of thousands of people are dying, right? Because they want to escape the pain. There is a massive crisis of escapism, white privilege, people just staying ignorant. Like, I just don't want to know. I just don't want to live in light. Like the toxicity of spirituality, all of that's happening. And that is Neptune and Pisces. So what's fascinating is Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac. It is the karmic ending. So Neptune was in Pisces. Simultaneously, Saturn is in Pisces. Okay. So Saturn is karma. And so if Pisces is karmic endings and Saturn is the planet of karma and they're in Pisces together, something's ending. And if you see my other videos, the illusion of the 3D realm. That's what I think is ending because Uranus is now in Taurus, the 3D realm. Taurus rules over the materialism. And so this illusion that there's an American dream, all of that's dead. Millennials, we knew there was no dream, right? But boomers, programmed. They don't get it. And it's fine if they don't get it. And they might never get it because they had this dream, but really they were just little sheep building this big corporate machine for everyone else. And unfortunately, they just worked and worked and worked until this machine got out of hand, unregulated, and we're at the mercy of the machine right now. we're going to take down the machine. We're going to take down the dragon. But that's basically what happened. And millennials never received any benefit of the dream. So we've always known this is going on. And that's why it's Pluto and Scorpio generation, transmuting power and control of the systems, right? Like, I'm probably not making sense, but if you got me, you got me, right? So that's why millennials have like stopped in the collective's track, being like, no. Oh my God, I need to stay focused. Okay. I was on Neptune. So the illusion of the reality down here is bursting. Now, while that illusion bursts, I think it's actually really beautiful as well, because we are honestly awakening to that we are spirit, right? Like, and I don't want to sound woo-woo, but we are. Scarcity was a mindset that got reinforced. The American dream, it work harder for money. All of that was just reinforced. And so I think with Neptune being in Pisces, that illusion of like working harder does not mean more money. It actually means you're burnt out. You don't get to spend time with your family, all this other shit. So that's why I feel like Uranus is really back in Taurus for that, disrupting that, while Neptune is also in Pisces for the final time. Neptune will not move 29 degrees of Pisces from now to February. Okay. So I think that illusion is lifting. So while simultaneously the system burning down, and it is going to be really hard, and I'm not bypassing that, and people are going to be in fight or flight, and people are going to be in survival mode, and we need to pick each other up and support each other. The people with privilege need to support people and rebalance the scales of Earth, but we also have to realize the programming. And when we realize that, we can literally tap into our internal power of spirit, trust, and see what could happen from there. Neptune and Pisces, which is scary. Like, I just got off a call with my friend. Like, it's scary to think that like we don't know where the next paycheck's coming from. We don't know what we're creating. We don't know. We're literally asked from the universe to trust. And while that feels so fucking delusional with a 1-year-old downstairs, it just feels like that's the mission. And if we can all trust and follow these pings and follow our spirituality and follow our intuition over the next few months and see what happens on a collective level and on an individual level, how much more would you trust in yourself and in your spirituality? You would tenfold if we were all okay and you saw change. And so if you start believing that you can trust and we can be spiritual and we can be human all at the same time, then at the end of the next 6 months, we have leveled up to the next game, right? To 4D, whatever you want to call, living in a world of hope, living in a world of love, because you realized through all this that we can do it. And that our intuition will guide us. And that there is something out there farther than us that we can even conceptualize, that we can tap into, collective consciousness, plasma, spirit, whatever term you want to use, that could get us there. That's my TED Talk. So that's why the outer planets right now are freaking crucial, right? Because Neptune, the illusion, but also like our spirituality, and then it's going to go back into Aries, okay? So then it's going to go back into Aries in February, meet up with Saturn. So after this big karmic ending, after the eclipses in Pisces, lunar eclipse, right? Woo, in September, we're entering into Pisces, where Saturn and Neptune meet up at 0 degrees and start a new cycle. Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. Neptune, the collective unity planet, the planet that rules spirituality, the planet that rules over oneness, one consciousness, all of that shit is starting a new cycle with the planet of karma. Saturn is what makes us follow the rules down here. Saturn is where we want to take responsibility. Saturn is where we want to mature. All of it is beginning again. We're rebuilding. Saturn wants to build a sustainable thing, Capricorn, long term, which would make sense why it's going to be 18 years transit. And Uranus doesn't go back to Gemini till April. So it's shaking shit up in Taurus for months. And Taurus doesn't like change because Taurus is a fixed sign, right? It literally is the roots of the world. So it's like pulling up those roots. And then if you think about it, everything builds in astrology. So like Aquarius is the 11th sign. Pluto is in Aquarius. Saturn is the 12th sign. Neptune is in Pisces, Pisces is the 12th sign. And Neptune is in Pisces and I'm going to move into the first sign of Aries with Saturn. And then Uranus is in Taurus, the second sign, well, about to be, and it's going to move back into Gemini, the third sign. So 11 through 3 is activated right now of the zodiac, the ending and the beginning. So fascinating. Well, I'm going to re-listen to this recording, see if it makes sense. Wow, this is so cool. So freaking cool. Well, by the way, if you want to learn astrology like this, by the time you're watching this, maybe tomorrow, November 1st, 5th, my astrology course will be live. So I've taught this 6 times all the way through, and this is a self-paced one. So I've refined the crap out of this course. This is everything I know in this beautiful course. And so basically, there's 2 parts. The first part is like everything you need to know about the fundamentals, the building blocks, the signs. And we're not surface level astrologers here. We go deep, right? We're getting into the story, into the roots. We're getting deep. So the first part is just like learning everything you need to know about the sun, signs, modalities, elements, aspects, yada, yada, yada. And then we get it more into the advanced techniques. So you'll learn like the nuances, the karmic placements, the shadow aspects. What's the story of your chart, yada, yada, yada. So yeah, it's going to be beautiful. And it's live and there's payment plans because I know it's fucking hard out there. So there's options and I'm really excited. Trusting. Let me know how you guys are doing. I'm going to do more videos on what happened on Halloween and just like some really great talks I've been having with my husband. And we'll go from there, guys. Thank you so much for supporting me. I really, really appreciate this. And subscribe, like, and let me know what you think. Bye.